Hey guys, I'll just wait for everyone to join, and then I will start on that question that was just asked about exercise. Hey ladies, I'm just going to wait for everyone to join that was already on that other live, and then I'll start with that question on exercise. Honestly, when it comes to PCOS, I think it's important to remember that everyone is so different. I think we sometimes we try as human beings to put ourselves into a tribe, which is awesome. It's good to have a community, but at the same time, this woman with PCOS looks nothing like this woman with PCOS. And so their habits and their diet and their exercise routine is going to look very, very different. And that's why it's important to not just categorize like, what's the best exercise for PCOS? No, what's the best exercise for you? And that really takes you understanding where your hormones are at, where your stress levels are at, and understanding and listening to your body. And so a lot of times for PCOS, cardio exercise, like excessive endurance exercise, is just out. I think that should be out for most women. It just ages you very quickly. It gives you wrinkles, makes your skin look thin. Like, I just think it should be out for everyone. But I understand that exercise has a mental component as well. But I do believe that like restorative exercise should be a part of your daily routine. So walking up a hill, leisurely bike riding, leisurely swimming, Pilates, yoga, that should be a part of the daily routine. And then we want to add in the complement, which is going to be strength training to build muscle so that you can uptake more sugar. When you build muscle, you're more metabolically stable. Once you've kind of implemented some strength training in, then you can start to add high intensity interval training in periodically. So what that would look like is like a set with 10 to 20 deadlifts, and then you'd do a minute of jump roping, and then you'd give yourself a break. And you kind of want to do that as long as your body can recover after a workout. A lot of women with PCOS cannot recover well after long workouts. So I think that like a 10 to 20 minute, keeping it under 40 minutes is usually a sweet spot for women with hormonal imbalances. But I really think, like I said, restorative exercises daily, and then strength training and high intensity interval training thrown in as much as you can tolerate. Keep in mind, too much is gonna work against you, and so you kind of want to balance it out. For me, like, it's gone through times when I'm not under stress. I get to the gym every day. I do a 40-minute to 90-minute workout. Now, I'm not pushing myself the whole time. I take adequate rest. Sometimes I'm just stretching in between. Like, I kind of do what I feel. But for me, when I'm not under stress, exercise is my love, my choice. It's something that keeps me mentally there, like on point. But when I'm under stress, like right now, for example, I'm building Fully Nourished, I'm still doing, working with all my clients, like I have a lot on my plate. I'm not getting to the gym every day. It's ridiculous. So I probably will strength train 2 to 3 times per week with adequate rest days in between. And then I'll maybe walk the dog, or I'll, stretch for a little while, maybe do like a Yoga by Adriene, 20-minute video, just something simple. But you kind of have to play around with exercise until you find what works for you. One of the biggest mistakes women make is we go hard or we go home. And I've said this multiple times. You can't go ham in the gym for 2 weeks, exhaust yourself and burn yourself out, and then never go back. That's not healthy, nor is it going to ever work in your favor. It's best to kind of experiment and play around with your exercise. Maybe say, for the next month, I'm going to try new things until I find something that I enjoy. And then once you find something you enjoy, it's not going to be like a thing that you have to like, oh, I have to go back to the gym. Like, you're going to write it into your calendar because you're looking forward to it and you're enjoying it. And that's the point of exercise. It really should not just be for physical health. It should be for mental health. And but I do think that strength training should be a part of every woman's routine, whether she's lifting her own body weight or you're actually lifting weights. In my opinion, lifting heavy weights, not like as heavy as you possibly can, there's a fine line. Too heavy will make you a little bit bulky. I'll be honest there. I've been a personal trainer for years, and that's just the case. If you're lifting super duper heavy, like doing your 1 rep PRs all the time, then you're going to get bulky. But if you're kind of keeping it in between that like 10 to 15 rep range, where going beyond 15 is impossible, it should be challenging. That's kind of where a sweet spot is. So I personally, when I lift heavy weights, within 2 weeks, the shape of my legs look different. My cellulite is gone. I feel better about my body. Like I look better. And even though that's not the point, of course, I look better, but I also feel better. But it's okay to like the way that exercise makes you look too. So I think that strength training really works in a lot of women's favor, and I just encourage them. I'm like, just work on getting comfortable in the gym. You have every right to be there, just like every other dude in that room, and like tell them to just F off. Like, it can be so intimidating, but you just have to do it. And I've now, worked out for years, and I feel so comfortable and confident there, but I know that I didn't when I first started. And so it just took me like doing it. And I wasn't comfortable. I wasn't confident when I first started, but I just acted like I belonged there because I did. And eventually it just becomes second nature. Everything in that gym is your playground, and it can be really empowering, and it can make you feel really strong, and it can make you feel really good about yourself, and it can also shape your body in incredible ways. You can create curves that you never thought could exist, and it actually allows you to have more freedom with consuming more carbohydrates and sugar, because your muscles are going to uptake that glucose. How much protein and meat do you have to eat in comparison to carbs for insulin resistance? Also, how many of animal protein should I count in macros? So this is kind of one of those things where I think women need to really more personalize themselves. This is why I came out with Fully Nourished. Just giving you a blanket statement would really give you a disservice. Like if I told you eat 100 grams, you might be eating too much or too little. So this is where you really have to take your temperatures and pulses and know what works for you. Usually between 70 to 150 grams of protein is going to be a sweet spot. It depends on how much you weigh. It depends on how active you are. Active women need more protein than inactive women. If you're building muscle, you do need more protein. And I do recommend getting about 100 grams a day, split up throughout the day. Now keep in mind, when it comes to protein, you never want to eat it alone. You always want to eat it in conjunction with carbs. A lot of people think carbs stimulate insulin, and they do a little bit, but protein stimulates it way more. And so when we eat protein alone, our blood sugar drops dramatically very quickly. And what can happen is our body has to manufacture its own glucose in that moment. And so what does it do? Raises cortisol. And so a lot of women are eating a lot of protein and even a lot of fat, which is great, but their blood sugar is constantly dropping too low, and they don't realize how crappy they feel, or they're craving sugar uncontrollably, or they have anxiety, or they're irritable, or they're angry, or they're kind of just meh. Like I wouldn't say, some women are depressed, but some women are just kind of like, meh, whatever. Like they just don't feel good. And so when it comes to the amount of carbs, it really more matters how frequently you're eating. I wouldn't do huge amounts of carbs at one sitting, just enough to keep you satisfied for 3 to 4 hours until your next meal or snack. And you want to feel balanced, you want to feel warm, you should enjoy your food, you should look forward to your food, it should warm you up, it should make you feel good, and it should affect your temperatures and your pulses positively. And that's why it's good to learn how to track your temperatures and pulses. Any recommendations for preconception tests to get started on the trying to conceive journey? So the first thing, you guys, is you have to understand that trying to conceive is the new industry. They are preying on you guys. And I say you guys because I am not trying to get pregnant yet. But your body is made for this. Your body wants to do this, but your body does need to be ready, and you need to face the facts. I think a lot of women are trying to force their bodies to have a baby when their body's clearly saying no, I need a few more months of consistency, of rest, of care, and you do want to be ovulating regularly. The reason for this is progesterone is important. Preeclampsia, eclampsia, water retention during pregnancy, gestational diabetes, all of these fun little things are caused by excess estrogen in relationship to progesterone. And we want our progesterone levels awesome during pregnancy. We also want our thyroid to be good, because that can be imprinted onto our baby. We can imprint low progesterone and low T3 onto our child, even if it's our daughter. Can you imagine? We're imprinting our hormonal balance onto them. We want to make sure we are detoxifying estrogen good. We have estrogen mobilizing from the tissues well. We are making enough progesterone to prevent a miscarriage, but also to prevent complications during pregnancy. And and we have a good pregnancy. Like, I want you to go enjoy your pregnancy. I don't want it to be like this fight to the death, which is what everyone's treating it as right now. There's a misconception that PCOS, automatically equals infertility. No. PCOS is an inovulation problem. It's a metabolic stress problem. Your body does not want to reproduce when you're stressed out, period, right? That makes sense. Your body doesn't want to be eating itself alive while you're growing a baby. Makes complete common sense, right? And so we need to really reshape the way we see pregnancy. Pregnancy is our ability to really nurture and grow a child that is going to grow into a human adult that we don't want to have to struggle with the same issues we're struggling with. And so we do need to take, especially in the world we live in, unfortunately, it's very toxic. There's a lot of stressors. And so we do have to take like 3 to 6 months to really prep our bodies for pregnancy, make sure we're making enough progesterone, make sure our thyroid levels are good. And then as long as you are tracking your ovulation, I wouldn't obsess about testing. There's a lot of women that are a part of Facebook groups like TTC Facebook groups and TTC. They're tracking ovulation. They're starting to treat everything like a science experiment. Their husbands are pissed off at them. They literally feel like a sperm donor. They don't feel like a partner any longer. They're driving people in their lives away. I've seen it happen again and again. And I'm like, I pray to you. I hope that you will just trust that your body can do its thing. Track ovulation with a thermometer. Know when you're ovulating. Have sex within your fertile window, and trust your body to do the rest. Keep treating your body well, not for the purpose or the expectation of getting pregnant, because your body deserves it. And a healthy body is a fertile body. That's the only reason. And even if it takes you 3 to 6 months to conceive, it's better to just let your body do its thing than to stress and be like, oh my God, it's not happening this month. It's not happening this month. Do you think that stress is going to help you conceive? No, it's not. It's going to make it worse. So I really recommend not obsessing over it and making it your life. The goal is to build a life that you are going to be overjoyed to bring a child into, and not the other way around. And I know this is hard to hear, especially for a lot of women that have been struggling a long time. I personally have not struggled with it. And so I always say I know nothing. I know that it is such a struggle, and I've had women just break down in tears to me over and over. However, sometimes it's being approached from the wrong way, like it's a fight, it's a battle. And I'm like, it's not a battle. Like, your body is really trying to protect you, because the minute that baby is conceived, you are no longer the priority, your baby is. And your body is just trying to protect you. So I don't really recommend, you can do LH strips. I would track your cycles, whether you're using Daisy or, just a fertility awareness method with a regular basal body thermometer, or OvuSense, just doing some type of ovulation tracking so you know when you're ovulating. A lot of women are assuming they ovulate on day 14, and so they're actually missing their fertile window altogether. So you just want to make sure sperm is present, pretty fresh when you ovulate. And that's the point. And you want to make sure that your husband is healthy as well, or your partner is healthy. You want to make sure that their sperm is not the issue as well. When they're stressed out, that is going to translate over. Keep in mind that semen is not only a carrier for sperm, it also has adrenaline, cortisol, testosterone, even some estrogen and progesterone in it. It is it's almost like a hormonal serum. And so when a man is really stressed out, that's going to translate into your body as well. And so we need to make sure that we're both on this journey together. It's not just mama, it's also daddy. And it's going to take some time. And sometimes it doesn't take any time at all. Sometimes it takes some time. But overall, the goal is just to really support your body, know when you're ovulating, and do it like they've always done. Your ancestors, you're here because of it. So obviously something worked. Where do you get dandelion tea powder from? A brand that you like in particular? I personally use Dandy Blend. I used to use a lot just traditional medicinals, dandelion root tea, but I kind of got sick of brewing the tea. I know, what a freaking American. And I just wanted to pour boiling water and mix the powder because I'm just lazy. So I use Dandy Blend, and they have an organic one, but it's so expensive. And honestly, I've talked to the company, and they'll say on their website that most of the herbs that they use are not sprayed in pesticides anyways, so there's no reason for it to be organic, even though they say we made organic because people want organic, but they're there's really very little difference except for the price is $15 more. So I don't think there's really a need to buy the organic Dandy Blend. I just started progesterone cream and feel low-grade cramps after applying it. Reasons why. Is this normal? It can be. It's one of those things where you got to pay attention. Just like I've said before, sometimes women like jump the gun and start supplementing progesterone too early. Their liver is not moving things well. Their bile's not moving things well. And so what can happen is, keep in mind that progesterone mobilizes estrogen. Estrogen is the hormone that's responsible for cramping, for clotting, for tender sore breasts, for heavy bleeding, for feeling moody, like anxiety and depressed before a period, cramps, achiness. That is your good friend Esty. And so when you start supplementing progesterone, sometimes that can mobilize from the tissues, because progesterone mobilizes estrogen. And so you'll get a lot of estrogen dominant symptoms. Sometimes supplementing a little more progesterone when symptoms arise can be helpful. But you also want to make sure you're pooping every single day, you're eating your raw carrot, you're supporting your liver, whether that's with chlorophyll or dandelion root tea, and you are also just sweating regularly. That's a huge one as well, whether it's through exercise or a bath or something like that. But overall, just kind of keep an eye on it. It's not necessarily normal, but it's not necessarily abnormal. A lot of women that start supplementing bioidentical progesterone can actually get like multiple periods per cycle. They'll start to bleed a lot, and it can sometimes be because it's too much progesterone, but sometimes it could be because they have so much estrogen in their body that they're finally like seeing the effects of the estrogen that's kind of been just causing these low grade symptoms. I would keep an eye on it for sure. You don't want to be like uncomfortable. You don't want to be causing issues, but it can be mobilizing estrogen, which could be responsible for the uterine cramping. How do I know if I'm eating enough calories working out without calorie counting? I really do recommend, like, if you aren't triggered by counting, I don't think like calorie counting is necessary, but I do think it's helpful to check in like once every month or so with like MyFitnessPal or Chronometer for the singular purpose of just checking in, seeing how much protein you're eating, how many carbs you're eating, how much fat you're eating, and just how many calories in general. And you want to just kind of track a normal day for you. And a lot of women will find that they're like, wow, like I am not eating enough at all. And so they'll start to slowly increase their calories, and they'll feel so much better. Most of their symptoms go away, like constipation and low energy and depression and anxiety, was simply because their body was not getting enough fuel. Not always, but a lot of the time. So I honestly just recommend tracking. Of course, you want to listen to your hunger signals, and you just kind of want to eat intuitively, which is amazing. But some of us have gotten so used to, our bodies have easily now switch into the cortisol state or the fight or flight state, and we'll just automatically switch to burning our tissues for fuel, that we sometimes don't even get hungry anymore. A lot of women don't even have hunger signals anymore because their body's like, screw you, like I'm gonna just show you I'm hungry in the sign of hunger and irritability and anxiety and depression. Like your body's speaking to you in other ways because hunger signals have been ignored for so long. So it is important to kind of check in once in a while, but once you really know your body and you kind of like, I can now, like I know a cup of, full fat Greek yogurt is this much fat, 12-ish grams of protein. Like, I'm not saying you have to be like, counting macros to a T. Like your body's like, oh, you didn't get 5 more grams of protein. Like we're going to freaking make you fat now. Like that's not how your body works. And that's how I think a lot of like bodybuilders are promoting it and the like fitness lifestyle. It's not like that. It's just more like, wow, I like ate like only 40 grams of protein today. That's why I feel so bad. Like it's just more about tracking, so you kind of like are aware. You're just more aware now, like, oh, I didn't eat a lot of carbs today. That's why I'm so stressed out. You can really start to like correlate symptoms with what you're eating. And it can be a helpful tool if you're not triggered, if it doesn't trigger disordered eating, to kind of track from time to time, especially during your healing journey. You can really start to manipulate, like, oh, when I eat more carbs, I feel really good. Or, oh, when I eat more protein, I feel really good. You can really like start to manipulate. Whereas if you're not tracking, you really don't know what's going on. So I don't recommend obsessively tracking. I don't think it's helpful, and I think it can really trigger an issue with numbers, but checking in once in a while can be really helpful. no period for 1 year. Will I ever get it back? Oh, hell yeah. You just have to figure out what your stressors are from. And I know you just asked, like, are you eating enough? That's the first thing. So many women are under eating. Like, I'll be honest. Most women who work out should probably be eating around like 2,000 to 2,500 calories, really depending on the workouts they're doing. But a lot of women are doing like excessive cardio, CrossFit style exercises. Like, oh, they're forcing their body to eat itself alive, and the body does not want to reproduce in that state. So you have to think of like your period or ovulation as reproduction. And when you're trying to get your period back, you're really not trying to get your period back. You're trying to get your ovulation back. That drop of an egg, that making of progesterone, that's what you want. And so yeah, under eating is one of the most common reasons why women don't have their periods, but it can also be thyroid issues. It can be drinking too much, especially around that follicular phase. It can be drinking too much water, flushing all your minerals out, under drinking water, under hydrating, not eating enough carbs. I mean, go on and on and on. But I think really eating enough is the first step. And then if you're like, I'm eating enough, like what's going on? Then that would be when you start to play around. Sometimes women don't do well on exercise. Like some women will actually, the only thing that will get their periods to come back is to stop exercising and sleep more. But I try to like not do that if possible. It's just one of those things where I know that exercise is more than just physical. I know it's mental. Like I understand that, but I think some of us are actually addicted to adrenaline and we don't know it. I'm actually like studying right now because I'm going to do a story on adrenaline addiction and stress addiction. Like, you know, those women that are like addicted to drama or like addicted to the rush. Well, that kind of actually translates into like women that really can't miss a workout, or like there is a correlation. Like we are addicted to stress hormones. Our body's addicted to burning itself for fuel, and we have to like force ourselves out of that state. And sometimes it needs to be more extreme than others. Like sometimes it just takes eating more and our body's like, cool, I have enough fuel, like I'm good. And then sometimes it's like your body needs a lot more. So I would start with like checking in if you're under eating and go from there. I love you, Jessica. You have helped me so much more than someone else. Seriously. I really appreciate you, Linda. I appreciate you guys being here and taking your time. I really respect that you guys are advocates of your own health. You're hungry to learn. Like, I know it takes time out of your busy day. I know it's stressful, especially in today's health and wellness culture. I get annoyed sometimes. Like, I look around because I'm like, all the other people around me on Instagram, and sometimes I just see information that's being promoted that's just like not helpful. Like, I'm like, I just see that and just stresses me out. It doesn't cause me benefit in any possible way. And I've been where you are before. Like I've consumed social media for 8 years before I came onto social media, and I understand the frustration of like following this person and following this person. Like I'm just hoping that like their advice, because it seems to work so well for them, right? Like I'm just hoping that their advice will help me in some way, and it just doesn't. And it's mostly because people are liars and they don't actually tell you like what they're actually doing. And second of all, it's just because a lot of people are approaching health just wrong. Felt like garbage after a coffee enema. Could that be detox? Used organic coffee and distilled water. Hell yeah, girl. So I used to be very toxic because like I rarely share my story here because I just like, it's about you guys. But I remember I had over 15 medical diagnoses. I had 3 autoimmune diseases, and I got diagnosed with polycystic ovarian syndrome, prediabetes, like I had it all. And when I started coffee enemas, same. So, like I felt like such garbage. I had to do 2 or 3 in a row actually. So I would do a plain water enema, I would do a coffee enema, and then I would do another coffee enema. And then I would take activated charcoal after. So some women are so toxic that coffee enemas are going to stimulate bile, right? They're going to stimulate you to that gallbladder to dump that bile, or the liver to make bile and then dump it into the gallbladder, which is going to push it into your small intestine. But if things are not flowing quickly, or you have slow transit time, or you just have so much junk in your liver that bile is super toxic, it can make you feel really crappy. So if you like feel like crap after coffee enemas, my personal thing is just take some activated charcoal after a coffee enema to absorb any possible toxins that could have been released in that bile. That shows that you're like really toxic. And then for me, like And for a lot of my clients, sometimes when they first start coffee enemas, they need to do them every day for like 3 weeks to really like get things moving. That can be incredibly detoxifying. I mean, if you want like such a quick, like people are like, I want a quick fix. And I'm like, if you really want a quick fix in your life and your hormone healing journey, do a coffee enema every day for like 3 weeks and then tell me how you feel. You're going to be like, I'm a brand new person. Like, what's going on? And so that, like, I would maybe, I know you feel like garbage, but that is actually like a good sign. Things are moving. So I would take activated charcoal after my coffee enema. I would consider maybe doing a water enema before and then doing 2 coffee enemas. And then just kind of go from there. Feel it out. You might not be able to tolerate them yet. If they really are causing you severe symptoms, then maybe like a chamomile enema or a warm water, a chlorophyll enema might be a better option for a little while. But coffee enemas are incredibly detoxifying, which is great. It's amazing. We want that stuff moving. So, you know, you can dilute your coffee, you can make it less strong, like you can really mix it up and try to make it less potent for a little while to let your body kind of move things along. But I would definitely think about the activated charcoal, especially if you're feeling so bad after a coffee enema. Anemic due to suspected SIBO, low progesterone. Would SIBO affect absorption and utilization of prometrium? Also, would lack of SAMe or methylation issues affect this as well? It can. So anemia is really interesting because everyone is iron toxic these days. A lot of people don't understand that heavy metals and organic, you know, I guess like minerals are, just because it's not in your blood or it's not showing up in your blood doesn't mean it's not stored in your tissues. It's just not being utilized properly, right? Similar to hormones. And so we have to remember that the soil is so rich in iron, and there's so much toxic rain that is just so rich in iron. Most of us have plenty of iron in our tissues, and a lot of people who have anemia actually have iron toxicity in the way that it's not being mobilized. And so a lot of people who are supplementing iron are doing themselves a horrible thing. So what you want to do is you more want to focus on getting your low progesterone levels up, getting iron-rich foods from like grass-fed beef liver specifically, but grass-fed beef. And yes, it can affect iron absorption, like small intestinal bacterial overgrowth can affect iron absorption for sure. So can low stomach acid. But supplementing iron specifically is so detrimental to gut health, because keep in mind that bacteria, parasites, fungus eat iron. And so when we supplement it, we're sometimes just feeding the issue. We're not making it worse or better. So I personally would try to get your progesterone levels up first to get the metabolism working better. And then you always want to retest for your iron levels. Also, you know, low T3 and thyroid issues can absolutely cause anemia to show up on a test. So you want to get your I want to like get to the last part of that question. So SAMe, low SAMe, or methylation issues affect this as well. So methylation is really interesting to me because there's all these people that are now like obsessed with genetics and MTHFR, and I'm like, okay, you guys, okay. The reason for this is we live in a very toxic environment. So many of us have low thyroids, we have low progesterone, we're overloading our body with toxic chemicals, slathering them all over our skin and our environment, and we're not even giving ourselves the proper nutrients to detoxify this. And then we're blaming it on a genetic mutation. And I'm like, yeah, you might have a genetic mutation, but how do we not know that your 5,000 years ago ancestor didn't have that genetic mutation either? You know, it's like, okay, like let's focus on all the things we can control and then see if it's still an issue. And then we can start obsessing about MTHFR. Most people have some type of methylation issue. We're not that special. And so methylation can cause that issue, especially if your body is super burdened. But I wouldn't blame like MTHFR or like a methylation issue on all your issues. Usually methylation is an issue because the body doesn't have what it needs to function properly. But yeah, I mean, low progesterone is going to cause subclinical hypothyroidism if it's not just full-blown hypothyroidism, and that's going to cause anemia or low ferritin levels to show up on a blood test. So I always say, like, focus on getting your hormones up first and then test your iron again and see where it's at. And a lot of times it's normal or it's raising. You can also just get it up with like grass-fed beef liver and making sure your stomach acid is high enough. Usually iron absorption is going to start in the stomach. So your stomach acid levels are going to really matter there. Natural ways to thin endometrium. Mine is 17 millimeters thick, and I'm told the only option is IUD or pill. Progesterone. That's what progesterone does. Keep in mind that estrogen thickens the uterine lining, and progesterone thins it. And low progesterone is going to lead to chronically thick endometrium. That is what the job of progesterone is to thin the lining of the uterus. So many women with low progesterone have endometriosis or thick uterine linings or endometrium, and it's just because there's no progesterone there. Hey Jessica, I get nausea first thing in the morning around my ovulation. Thoughts? Gallbladder. You keep in mind, you guys, that your biggest estrogen spike of the cycle happens a couple days before ovulation. That's actually what brings ovulation on. It tells the brain, hey, it's time to ovulate, and the brain sends out LH, and that drops that egg. And so when you are having symptoms specifically before ovulation or right at ovulation, it's always estrogen. And you want to get your bile flowing. And so estrogen slows bile flow. Keep that in mind. That's why a lot of women who are 40, 50 are getting their gallbladders removed, because that's a lifetime of low progesterone catching up to you. So you want to really focus on bile flow. I would do dandelion root tea, maybe like a dandy blend. I would do coffee enemas around that time and castor oil packs around that time, and it'll go away. To me, coffee enemas are honestly the best thing that can move bile flow. I'm someone that has like struggled with chronic nausea just because I have gallbladder issues that run in my family. And I always, whenever I'm nauseous, I'll just do a coffee enema and it will pass. So ginger can also be really helpful for nausea, but if you're not like getting to the root of the issue, then it might just help for a little bit. But yeah, I would really focus on getting bile moving and flowing. And maybe even eating some healthy fats during that time, like extra coconut oil, grass-fed butter, because that's going to stimulate bile to kind of flow, since bile is needed for fat digestion. And then sometimes like doing pancreatic enzymes or ox bile for a period of time can be really helpful if you constantly are struggling with that nausea. Okay, I'm going to find another question. Oh, I got one more. I almost got through everything. If progesterone doesn't work for me, what would be other ways to get levels up? I've been on high amounts but still showed up low. Suspected absorption issues. Well, at that point, you want to ask for them to figure you out a liquid. They need to figure you out something else, maybe a cream or an under-the-tongue tincture, and stop giving you capsules. If you're having an absorption issue, then there needs to be some other delivery going on. And that's what I would focus on. Maybe a cream, maybe a tincture would be better off for you. And then if your levels are still not getting up, there's a reason why. And that's where you need to kind of figure out what's going on. What is my body converting progesterone into? Or why is my body going through progesterone so quickly? A lot of women with endometriosis or thick uterine linings have very high estrogen, very high. And so when they start supplementing progesterone, that estrogen starts moving. And progesterone, the body will go through progesterone so damn quickly. And so sometimes you do need extra. You want to get to a point where it's suppressing symptoms and it's not causing you to be like sleepy as heck, which is what progesterone does. It'll make you like super lazy and just like, if you take too much. So, progesterone almost always works for people. However, it's not just the progesterone. It's also the right lifestyle. It's also making sure the guts, the gut terrain is changing. But I'm wondering if you have low stomach acid levels just because the absorption of progesterone is bad, you suspect you have SIBO, and you have low iron. It makes me think like, I wonder if your hydrochloric acid is low. That could be something. And they can test for hypochlorhydria if they are willing. If not, the best way to do that is just to do the hydrochloric acid challenge or HCl challenge, which you can Google and you can find instructions for. It's pretty much just trying to figure out what levels of HCl you have. You take a pill with a protein-rich meal. If it doesn't give you any burning, you take 2 the next meal, so on and so forth until you finally feel burning. Some women will feel burning at like 10 pills. Shows like their hydrochloric acid is super low. And so if you feel burning, you go down 1. So let's say you feel burning at 8, then you would take 7 until you feel burning at 7, and then you go down to 6. But overall, I would maybe suspect stomach acid levels. And something as simple as taking apple cider vinegar with meals can also really increase stomach acid or digestive bitters. Will you be giving brand recommendations in Fully Nourished? Heck yes. So I have a whole list of like resources and products for like food items. And then I'm going to like in the Facebook group, I want you guys, if you like discover a food, you're like, oh, this is Fully Nourished approved. Like this is clean, no gums, no weird additives. We'll add it to the list. So it's going to be kind of like a list that starts, but then we'll like continue to add to it as a team, as a community. And then on the flip side, supplements. So a lot of the Fully Nourished supplements, I actually have you make your own. The reason for this is I find that a lot of women are on like stacks and stacks of supplements, and the additives are just causing so much inflammation. It's actually like making them fat and stressing out their liver. And so I have you be very strategic with supplements. It's not like I'm saying no supplements. I just kind of teach you about supplements, and I tell you like which ones I need you taking, which are mostly DIY. And then if you want to add more, there's tons of supplement recommendations in the supplement guide. So there's two separate guides. There's the nutrition and recipe guide, and then there's the supplement guide. And it teaches you how to make your DIY supplements, which they're super easy. Like I don't want you to hear like, oh my God, I have to make my own supplement. Like what the heck? And it's not like you're gonna be like sitting there like packing things into pills. No, it's like I'm gonna have you make like a liquid multivitamin out of like herbs, and then I'm gonna have you, it's just like making tea. I'm gonna have you, make your own grass-fed beef liver pills if you can. If not, you can get desiccated. Like you'll have everything that you need. I promise. And if you don't, you can just tell me in the Facebook group and I will be at your service. So I want you guys to know like the reason why it's taking so long is because I think of everything. And if I don't, I will quickly remedy that. I can't wait for Fully Nourished either, you guys. So I'll be honest, like I just have a few more things to finish up. I have the recipe book is just finished up. Like I have all the recipes written out. I just have to like put them into the PDF. I have a few handouts, like PDF handouts. So the modules are, it's like lessons with a video, and then there's, whatever goes with the video. So if there's a recipe book or a PDF guide to go with that video, then it needs to be made. And so I still have the handouts to do and the recipe guide. And then I just have to come up with the checkout page and the sales page, and it will be done. So it's gonna be a few more days. I had I said I planned on getting it done by Friday, and then we had this family emergency, and it's all fine, but a really good family friend, his dog needs to be taken care of, and his dog is like a German Shepherd puppy, and of course he's like nervous and freaked out because his owner like got taken away by the ambulance and the EMTs, and he's just been a lot of work. Like I've had to pretty much just like keep my eye on him at all times, and he like wants to be attached to me at all times. So he's so cute and so sweet, but he's just a lot of work. And so I've literally gotten nothing done in the past 2 days, which drives me nuts, but it is what it is. So I'm going to be working on it tonight, tomorrow, Friday, and hopefully by Monday, hopefully by my birthday, which is on Tuesday, it will be out. Are there any specific, should progesterone be taken at night? I guess it can, it should, I don't want to say it should be, but it does tend to make you sleepy or relaxed, and so some women like cannot take it in the morning, but I've taken it throughout the day. Like sometimes when I'll have like really bad symptoms like PMS, or just like I'm a little tired during my luteal phase and need a little dose of chill, I'll take it in the morning. But yes, typically I recommend taking it at night, and I take mine at night because it just helps me sleep. Are there any specific foods to eat during a recovery process after surgery? I had a ligament in my arm recently replaced, and just was curious if there are foods that help during the healing process. So yeah, I mean, collagen, really helpful. Collagen hydrolysate powder, or if you're doing gelatin, bone broth is really healing. Like vitamin K2, keep in mind that vitamin K2 is needed to clot your blood, and your body's going to heal. So supplementing vitamin K2 or getting it from greens and, high quality dairy is a great option. Just honestly, like what I always recommend here, like nutrient dense foods, I would focus heavily more on like, if you're not really good about getting like grass-fed beef liver in, or oysters or shellfish in, I would make more of a point to get those more healing foods in. But overall, as long as you're taking care of yourself and you're resting, you're keeping inflammation levels mostly down, your body will do its thing. Will taking HCl with prometrium or promethium help absorption? Is stomach acid necessary for absorption? I've never seen a woman have a hard time absorbing progesterone unless they have like really severe like microvilli issues. And so I don't think like you should take the progesterone with the hydrochloric acid, but I think like overall building up your hydrochloric acid levels would probably be helpful. I don't think you should maybe take them together. But yeah, I'm like wondering I'm trying to think of what could be a better delivery. You might just have to consider a different delivery option if prometrium is just not being absorbed well. Hi, Jessica. My NP laughed at me when I told her that I was supplementing iron by eating oysters, which made me feel so bad. My question is, how do I put myself on your patient waiting list? That is so weird. Like, what the heck? Like, I despise practitioners that make people feel stupid because they act like they know everything. And I'm like, I hope you do know everything, because if you don't, you're the idiot. Not you. She is. So you can get my client waiting list. I'm actually taking a few new clients if you want to book a session, and you can book it as far in advance as you want if you want to wait a little while. Yeah, I mean, you can become a client at any time. And that is not okay. Like, I don't think that people should be making people feel stupid about treating their bodies well and being very conscious of getting nutrients from their food. I think that you are empowered, and I think that you are way smarter than her, apparently. And to me, it's just an ego trip. Like, it's just like they must just get off on having an ego. That's all I can figure. I wish you made a talk about hypothyroidism and Hashimoto's. I love when you do those talks. Yeah, so if you haven't already watched my one on thyroid, it was done a while back, so I know it's a little old. I will do another one on thyroid issues. Hashimoto's is really interesting to me because there's two schools of thoughts when it comes to Hashimoto's. There's one school of thought in medicine that Hashimoto's is simply an autoimmune disease, meaning that you're attacking yourself. I believe that the body's really wise, and there's actually a completely different arena of health practitioners and doctors that don't even believe Hashimoto's is an autoimmune disease. They believe that the presence of antibodies show you that your thyroid itself is incredibly inflamed. And what inflames the thyroid tissue? Pesticides, heavy metals, and estrogen, and polyunsaturated fats. Bingo! I don't care if someone has Hashimoto's or not. It's the same treatment, it's the same thing. You gotta focus on getting junk out of the body, getting things moving, and getting estrogen out, getting progesterone levels up, getting things mobilizing. When it comes to hypothyroidism, it's just suboptimal thyroid function, but you have to determine, is your T4 truly low? Is your thyroid truly under functioning? Or is it the conversion from T4 to T3? Because if it's the conversion, if you have low T3, the fact that we call it hypothyroidism is not really correct, because it's not the thyroid's issue. It's a liver conversion issue, a gut conversion issue, because T4 is converted to T3 in the gut and the liver, mostly the liver. Happy birthday. Thank you. It's almost here. Any info on edema or hyperlipidemia? So edema is very, very frequently caused by high aldosterone levels or high insulin levels. The body's trying to retain a lot of minerals, specifically magnesium and calcium and potassium and sodium. And so a lot of times edema can simply be, I guess, I don't want to, like, the word cured is stupid, but just be resolved by supplementing with minerals, making sure you're getting plenty of minerals into your body. If that doesn't work, a lot of times progesterone can cause water retention, and so sometimes women who have like really bad edema are just chronically low in progesterone. And then hyperlipidemia it really kind of depends on the person. Like, you always want to look at that kind of based on what's going on with hormones. Sometimes stress on the body can cause it a lot. Yeah, you really have to, like, it's an issue that really is not an issue in itself. I know it's a problem, but you want to see like the bigger picture. And you have to kind of look at like what's going on with stress levels, what's going on with estrogen, what's going on with cortisol, to know why that might be occurring. Okay, bioidentical progesterone pills or cream. It just kind of depends. I think for me, like, I take pills personally, but I'm going to maybe try a liquid for a while. It's been a while, or a cream. it just kind of depends. Like it depends on the convenience factor. Sometimes if you apply progesterone but then you let it rub off, like you're not getting the full absorption. But some women prefer to just take a pill. It does, anytime you're taking something via the digestive route, it is going to take more time and it's going to have to be digested. And so there is always that kind of downside with pills, but I do know that they're a little bit more easy and they're a little bit more convenient. So I think it's just personal preference. Some people don't see the benefit with the pills, and so they do try like a different form and they think like, oh, it's so much better that way. And then that would be your answer. But I think it's more just like personal preference, honestly. Especially when this information has been hidden from us forever. We come to professionals and experts because we want to learn. We don't need more shame. We need to learn and share the truth. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for speaking that, because it just annoys me so much when, I don't even consider myself like a healer. Like, it's not my job to heal you. That's your job. It's my job to teach you about your body so that you can really start to draw on all your experiences and start to really put the puzzle pieces together and start to say like, wow, now it makes sense why that happened 10 years ago. And you can really start to like draw out your timeline and really start to understand why these things might be happening. And so, I just don't like ego. Like, I don't claim to know everything. And if I don't know something and someone tells me something, I go, and I actually like look it up for myself, because I'm like, maybe I am wrong. Like, and that's how I actually learn a lot, is like I end up being wrong about a lot of things, and I'm willing to just say like, I was wrong about that. Like, wow. And I am now right about it. It's like when you get an answer wrong on a test, like when you were in high school and you got an F on that answer, like you're never going to forget the answer to that damn question because you got it wrong. And it's kind of the same thing as like it's like illuminated for you. And so I don't think it's a practitioner's job to make you feel like an idiot. And they're definitely not supposed to be the master of your body. That's you. Their job is just to teach you and to give you the tools that you need and to be kind of your partner in health. And if they're not that, they're worthless. They are worthless. My birthday is 7/11. Happy birthday to you. Yes, July babies. My boyfriend's birthday is the day before mine. It was funny when we met because, we've been together for 5 years now, but we like always now celebrate our birthdays together, which is kind of fun. But I am like a diva in certain regards, and I'm like, I want my birthday. You can have your birthday. I want my birthday. And so he's like very like, oh, who cares? Like, we'll just celebrate your birthday. Birthdays are stupid. And I'm like, my birthday is not stupid. Like, I like my birthday. I get acne on my chin mostly, so more androgenic. I know it's hormone related, but struggling with what to do to help. I'm currently on bioidentical progesterone day 12 to 24. Yeah, so that chin acne, especially if it's cystic, can be a bitch. I'm gonna be honest. I know it can really be a struggle, but usually it's pointing to either inflammation or a lack of detoxification. A lot of times androgenic symptoms, if you caught my story yesterday, are really driven by estrogen, and whether the body's converting estrogen to testosterone or estrogen is inflaming the tissues, you're getting acne because of it. And so it is kind of important to see what it is. It's a skin infection. So I really do recommend for acne like the raw carrot every single day, making sure you're doing chlorophyll in your water every single day to really support the liver. Milk thistle can be really helpful. And then if you're comfortable with it, coffee enemas are also incredibly beneficial for moving things quickly. I know a lot of women are like, oh my God, I can't do that. Like, I can't stick that thing up my butt. And I'm like, okay, here's the deal. It's like, what way do you want to go? Do you want it to be fast or do you want it to be slow? It's your choice. And I know it's scary, but the first time is always scary. And then you're going to be like, oh my gosh, like this was not as bad as I thought it was. It's not like, a lot of women are like imagining like there's poop everywhere. Like, oh my gosh, it's just like a poop situation. And I'm like, no, it's just you filling your colon with a solution, aka coffee, that's very rich in minerals, and it also sends caffeine to the liver through the hepatic vein that's going to help stimulate the liver to produce bile and glutathione, which is an antioxidant in the body. It's moving bile quickly, and the liver and the bile is where toxins get out. And so if we're moving that junk, we're doing lots of amazing things. Add in a castor oil pack to that, which is going to dilate the gallbladder ducts, and that's going to allow bile to flow more readily. Think of it as like almost opening up a pipe and kind of dilating things. And that's when you'll start to see like stones are passing, or like bile buildup is passing. There'll be like lime green, like floating bile chunks in the toilet, because you are pushing bile, but then you're also dilating. I think castor oil packs done before a coffee enema are like a match made in heaven. Wonderful for moving things quickly. And then if there's still inflammation occurring, you might want to look into what could be driving these symptoms. A lot of women are eating lots of phytoestrogens without realizing it. So lots of like flax seeds and even chia seeds, and like just lots of nuts and seeds in general. Honestly, like I love to pick on nuts and seeds, but they can be really inflammatory. And then too many like cruciferous vegetables and raw greens, which I know are being promoted as estrogen detoxifiers, but too much of a good thing is almost always a bad thing. And all that fiber can be really rough and irritating on a gut. And so sticking more to like root vegetables and squashes and fruits, like they're gentle fibers, they're still doing their job, but they're actually like really like soothing the gut lining and providing you with a lot of nutrients and minerals. So a lot of times when we start to dive in, we start to realize like, okay, there's some adjustments that need to be made, but hang in there. Sometimes it can take some time to really clear estrogen and to really get hormonal symptoms down, but you got to be consistent. And honestly, the number one thing that's going to help is that raw carrot every single day. And then, like I said, coffee enemas and castor oil packs can be really amazing. You are truly brilliant. I love witnessing women in their power. You are inspiring me big time right now. Oh, I appreciate it, Rebecca. It's weird. I just collect information, and it's so funny because the things that I was made fun of for going through school, I was homeschooled, and I was like always the girl that had her nose in a book, always was asking why, like just the nerd. Like I was just a straight up nerd. I graduated high school when I was like 16. I graduated college when I was like 19, and I just love to learn. And it ended up being like the thing that I felt so insecure about ended up really helping me help other women. And so I think like just being unapologetically yourself is the best option. Even if it feels painful or people judge you for it, it's just them. It's just them. Doctor says my estrogen level was way too low and put me on birth control, but my androgen levels were fine. Why the heck do I have facial hair? So confused. I hope you watched my story yesterday because I explained how estrogen stores in the tissues, right? And so a lot of women who get their estrogen tested don't have low estrogen. It's that they have low progesterone, and estrogen is not mobilizing. Remember, you have to have adequate progesterone levels to mobilize estrogen. And if you do not have adequate progesterone levels, you have a lot of estrogen. Keep in mind, polycystic ovarian syndrome is driven by estrogen and stress. It's just stored in your tissues. And so once you get progesterone in the picture, oh my God, I don't just have normal estrogen, I have high estrogen now. What's going on? It's because progesterone is actually moving things how it's supposed to be moved. So like I said in my story yesterday, I do not believe that androgenic symptoms are driven by androgens. I believe that they're driven by stress hormones and estrogen. And it can cause androgenic symptoms, but it can also cause a million other symptoms. So I would look deeper and make sure that your doctor also tested you for progesterone. How can I heal leaky gut? Healing leaky gut is really interesting to me because there is a lot of information out there about healing your gut, and it's really weird to me because first of all, we don't heal our guts, our body heals our guts. And second of all, our body needs an environment to heal. And a lot of these like gut healing diets and this and that are excessively pushing consumption of foods that irritate the gut lining. I'm talking about above ground vegetables. I'm picking on those leafy greens. And I'm not saying leafy greens are bad. They're not. I'm just saying over consuming them and just consuming them in such high amounts, specifically cruciferous ones like kale and lots of like broccoli and Brussels sprouts and cauliflower. You're going to feel so bloated and just blah from eating all of that because your body has to work so hard to break it down. The fiber just feeds that bacteria, and then think of like broccoli scraping against the delicate walls of your intestine. It just doesn't seem very good. Nuts and seeds are also a huge one. So a lot of people really pick on dairy when it comes to gut issues. And we have to remember that calcium is actually a very powerful gut healer. And when we cut calcium, what are we replacing it with? Well, a lot of times we're replacing it with nut milks and nut cheese, and we're acting like, oh, I cut out dairy, which is super inflammatory, but you're replacing it with things that are just as inflammatory or maybe a little less inflammatory. So I do recommend a very low fiber, low irritant diet, which includes mostly like cooked fruits, cooked roots as your carbohydrate, or fruit juices that don't have any pulp or any fiber in them. Or if you're doing like a smoothie, like blending them very, very well, doing a high protein diet. And when I say high, I don't mean like excessive. I just mean adequate levels of bioavailable protein, aka animal protein, not plant protein. Cutting grains and beans, and just pretty much living off of meats, broths. I like dairy for gut healing. Keep in mind that babies are born with leaky guts, and what is the first thing that nature gives them for 6 months? Breast milk. That's what nature decides that a baby born with a leaky gut is going to get. And so I like dairy. I think it's a great source of protein. I think it's really helpful for the gut lining. Some people have wrecked guts, and so they can't tolerate dairy, but they can try goat's milk, they can try sheep's milk, they can try raw milk. They can kind of work around that a little bit until they decide, like, I can't tolerate it at all. And then getting lots of saturated fat, staying away from plant fats for the most part. So coconut oil, ghee, grass-fed butter, and then doing like ripe fruits, fruit juices, roots, and sticking to that, and just really easy to digest foods altogether. And when you do that, your gut is going to thank you. Thank you so much. Honestly, like the biggest thing that helps my clients heal their guts finally, after they've been trying to heal their guts for like 8 years, is stop eating so much damn fiber. Her naturopath also told me that my testosterone is high because I'm a massage therapy, and I work on a lot of men with sports injuries, and they're passing me their testosterone. Wow. I'm flabbergasted. I am flabbergasted right now. It doesn't work like that, baby. It doesn't work like that. Wow. That's so weird. Yeah, men do not pass you their testosterone through their skin. That would not be, that's so weird. That's such a weird. One time I had a doctor, this reminds me of a funny story real quick, and I'll get on to the next question. One time I was having a rash all over my legs. I had a rosacea on my legs. And I had a doctor that had put me on estrogen, which I now know is just like so awful. But at the time, it was like the beginning of my health journey, and I had no idea. And so I had told her, like, I was like, I have this rash on my legs, like, what's going on? And she's like, the estrogen just hasn't gotten all the way down your body. It just hasn't fallen into your legs yet. And I was like, in that moment, like, okay, like, and then you're like thinking like, what? Like, the estrogen has not fallen to my legs yet? Like, what is this? Like, what? It's just, like, they really do think that you are dumb. And that is just so wrong to me. Okay, super low, Natalie says, super low DHEA and low progesterone, low cortisol, all after having 4 kids. Oh, that will do it to you, for sure. Trying to recover, starting progesterone cream in a couple days, worried about the estrogen is going to wake up. Any advice? Yeah, so I think like I always talk about it because I've never ever heard another practitioner talk about it. And all these people are saying like, yeah, progesterone works for some people and doesn't work for others. And I'm like, no, like even though every body is different, in a way we're all the same. In a way we are all the same. And so we kind of have to like understand, like if something's working for someone and something's not working for somebody else, there's a reason why that's happening. It's not because like, oh, it just didn't work for you. It's like, no, what's going on? And so I just talk about it mobilizing estrogen a lot because some people can experience symptoms when they first